If you spend enough time on social media, you've seen this.
The real underlying thing is that there is no climate crisis.
All of this with the global warming and that, a lot of it's a hoax. It's a hoax.
It's the greatest fraud that's been perpetrated on mankind this century.
A new wave of content telling you to relax. They say the climate crisis is a manufactured panic. It's not a big deal. Things are not getting worse. That's probably why climate change went out of trend. But according to the 2025 IPIE report, it's a misinformation catastrophe funded by interests that benefit from our inaction. Here is the reality that isn't trending. We are officially on a red alert. As per the World Meteorological Organization, WMO, ocean heat and greenhouse gas concentrations reached their highest level in human history in 2025. We are seeing record-breaking threats to human survival right now, from a 167% increase in heat-related deaths to the fastest biodiversity loss in 10 million years. And if you think buying EVs or putting solar panels or investing in renewable energy is the fix, I have really upsetting news for you. The biggest irony of the 21st century is that we are degrading the environment more in the name of renewable energy, and I will cover how in a moment. But if you think you won't live long enough to witness the catastrophe of climate change, then let me tell you, it isn't a 2100 problem, it's a 2026 problem. Now, it's the reason your insurance premiums are skyrocketing, why 14.2 million people caught dengue in 2024, and why your food is becoming more expensive and less nutritious. And yes, there is a way out, but it's not a product you can buy or something you can leave for scientists or the government to figure out. But before we talk about a fix, it's really important we identify the right problem. We have failed to stop this disaster because until this moment, we've been blaming the wrong enemy. For decades, scientists have warned about climate change because the damage may soon become irreversible. Human activity has already warmed the planet by over 1.1 degrees Celsius. That single degree is enough to intensify heat waves, droughts, floods, storms worldwide. Even with moderate warming, about 5% of all species would likely disappear by the end of this century. Even worse warming, and we're looking at 15 to 30% of life on Earth being wiped out. The World Health Organization estimates that by mid-century, climate change could cause 250,000 additional deaths every year from heat stress, disease, and undernutrition. Glaciers are melting, sea levels are rising, land is disappearing, major coastal cities, New York, London, Sydney, Mumbai could become uninhabitable. And yet, despite all this, we continue to act as if everything is normal. From history, we learn that we learn nothing from history. We hear, we delay, we normalize, and then, when it's too late, we panic. But the climate doesn't respond to panic. It responds to reality. We keep telling ourselves, oh, it'll be fine. It doesn't affect me. This insane human tendency that whatever is happening now must be okay. But wait, why am I using the word we? Isn't the primary responsibility with the leaders we have chosen to represent us? Yes, but they don't act. Why? Simple. Money rules, not principles. If immediate profit is threatened, then forests can be destroyed, people uprooted, oceans poisoned. It's called progress. Sure, there are conferences, speeches, and promises.
We must use this opportunity to create a more equal world. And our motivation should not be fear, but hope.
But the profit machine rolls on. This profit machine is exactly why the true driver of climate change remains untouched. And no, it's not cars or factories, it's your food. Yes, you can argue about oil companies, but food production counts for about 26% of global greenhouse gas emissions, especially the meat industry. The UN's Food and Agriculture Organization estimates that livestock supply chains account for about 14.5% of global human-caused greenhouse gas emissions. The IPCC's the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change assessment, puts the transport sector at roughly 15% of total greenhouse gas emissions. So this is not a minor detail. Livestock is in the same league as the entire transport sector, and it becomes worse when we look at the most emission-intensive foods. Per kilogram of food, emissions from beef tend to be very high, often dozens of kilograms of carbon dioxide equivalent per kilogram, and in some datasets and systems, it can be far higher overall, way above others. Not only carbon dioxide, a big killer is methane, which traps heat in the atmosphere and is the major contributor to global warming. The methane problem doesn't come from cows living naturally. It comes from industrial exploitation. When cows are packed by the millions into feedlots, fed unnatural grain-heavy diets, bred and milked at unnatural speeds, and treated as disposable production units, then methane emissions become excessive and unmanageable. In cow-protected, pasture-based systems, methane stays within a natural cycle, absorbed by healthy soil and vegetation. So the issue is not the cow. It is how humans exploit cows and land that turns a natural process into a climate problem. Many people assume that buying local meat solves the problem, as if distance were the main source of emissions. Data summaries show that food transport accounts for only a small share of food emissions, typically around 5 to 6%. So you can buy local and still be supporting a system that's heavy in emissions. And it's not only emissions, it's also water. This is where the modern mind becomes very strange. We are told, save water, shorter showers, turn off the tap, but then we ignore the water footprint of what we eat. Beef is extremely water intensive. One hamburger takes roughly 660 gallons of water to produce, which is equivalent to about 40 showers. Putting off a dripping tap is good, but if you stop eating meat, it is like turning off thousands of taps. And if the water footprint was not enough, this is what happens to Mother Earth. Almost half the land on Earth is used for agriculture. And when you add up grazing land and the land used to grow animal feed, livestock uses about 77% of all agricultural land. Yet that vast amount of land produces only a small share of the world's food, roughly 18% of global calories and about 1/3 of global protein. In other words, most farmland is used for animals, but most food for humans comes from plants. We are using enormous land to convert plant calories into animal calories inefficiently, while forests are cleared and biodiversity collapses. And the Amazon is the painful example everyone knows. Multiple independent studies identify cattle ranching as the leading cause of Amazon deforestation, responsible for around 70 to 80% of forest loss. This destruction releases billions of tons of CO2, turning a vital carbon sink into a climate amplifier. An ecosystem hosting about 10% of Earth's species is being devastated, which destabilizes rainfall and accelerates extinction. Now, of course, most people are not monsters. They're kind to their children, they help others, but there are certain topics where the mind simply switches off. Because to face it would require change, people prefer not to think. More than 80 billion land animals are slaughtered for meat each year. That's 10 times the number of humans on Earth, or like killing the entire population of the United States every 30 to 32 hours. But we don't like to look at the blood. And so for all the damage we cause, we cling to a single comforting belief, my favorite topic, or rather my favorite myth, that renewable energy will save us. Solar, wind, everything. So while the world is going green, pollution is increasing. How come? And yes, compared to coal and oil, renewable energy produces much less carbon per unit of electricity. But here's the problem. The climate doesn't respond to efficiency. It responds to total emissions. Renewable energy reduces emissions per kilowatt hour. But our consumption of energy is increasing faster, driven by air conditioning data centers, artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, and expanding consumer classes across the world. Now that we know that electric cars reduce emissions, we start to buy more and more cars. So, while we build cleaner energy systems, we use far more energy than before. Despite record growth in renewables, global carbon emissions have reached their highest level ever. Renewable energy systems add energy to the system, but don't replace fossil fuels. fast enough. Coal plants are not being shut down at the same pace. Gas plants are kept as backup. And total consumption expands to fill the supply. This is a well-known phenomenon. Economists call it the rebound effect. When energy becomes cheaper and more efficient, people do not conserve, they consume more. So, we are building cleaner engines and pressing the accelerator harder. Even renewable energy is not truly clean. Solar panels require mining, chemicals, factories, and eventually disposal. Wind turbines require steel, concrete, rare minerals, massive land disruption, transmission lines carving through forests and hills. Data centers consume colossal amounts of electricity and water. Globally, they use around 460 terawatt hours of electricity every year, more than entire countries like Norway or Argentina. One data center can consume 1 to 5 million liters of water per day, the daily water needs of tens of thousands of people, just to keep servers cool. All this talk of clean energy is a massive bluff to make us feel good, thinking we are going green. But however so-called green it might be, every system of mass energy production massively damages the environment. So if we believe that technology alone will save us, while we keep on increasing consumption, we are only perpetuating the problem and comforting ourselves with slogans. It's a bitter pill to swallow, realizing the things we banked on to save the planet are actually contributing to its decay. But I'm not being hopeless here. Instead, I'm here to tell you that a real solution exists. First, we need to understand this is not primarily an environmental crisis. It's not a technological crisis. It's not a crisis of knowledge. It is a crisis of consciousness. We already know what's happening. We already know the consequences, yet we continue because modern civilization is driven by unrestricted desire. Desire that is never satisfied, only stimulated. Desire that demands more comfort, more speed, more consumption, more convenience. And every additional demand requires more extraction, more energy, more production, and more waste. Until desire itself is confronted, no policy, no innovation, and no global summit will change the outcome. Think about your own life. When tools like ChatGPT dramatically boosted productivity, did that extra time turn into rest? No, it turned into more output. Productivity tools don't give us free time, they raise expectations. What you could do yesterday, you're now expected to do 10 times more. A civilization ruled by desire cannot be saved by better machines. Technology does not restrain desire. It multiplies it. It accelerates consumption without teaching restraint. So we build cleaner, more efficient energy systems, and then we consume even more energy. A commonly accepted principle is that scientific discoveries such as nuclear power do not intrinsically cause problems. It is misuse of science that causes problems. Mother Nature will give us everything we need to live happily if we live according to our need, not our greed. Climate change confronts us with a whole constellation of momentous problems. Look at the record. Companies tried to solve this, and they failed. Governments tried to solve this, and they failed. After decades of watching the world's most powerful systems collapse, I suggest we need a completely different approach, a radical spiritual solution based on Vedanta. Before you think it's just mumbo-jumbo, let me change your perspective. The very beginning of Vedanta, the Ishopanishad, opens by indicating that everything in this world is complete. Everything is provided for our sustenance by Isha, the Supreme Controller, and by the grace of the Supreme Controller, Isha, God, Krishna. We have a right to take what we need, but not excessively. There is enough in the world for everyone's need, but never enough for even one person's greed. Don't you sometimes feel the pull to walk away from all this rushing and simply live somewhere quiet, somewhere real? So, why not begin that change today? Not tomorrow, not someday, but right now, with the smallest of choices. Wake up before sunrise instead of scrolling at midnight. Cook simple food at home rather than ordering in. Walk short distances instead of starting the engine. Buy less, waste less, speak less unnecessarily. These are not sacrifices, these are corrections. Because when more souls choose to live simply and peacefully, the earth too begins to breathe again. Less craving, less noise, less destruction. The planet doesn't only suffer from big industries, it suffers from the speed, the restless, anxious speed that we all rush along with. Simple living, high thinking, this is not just a spiritual ideal. It may well be the Earth's only hope. So, for the benefit not just of humans, but for every living being, we should revert to a simple, more natural lifestyle and elevate our thinking beyond the trivial up to the transcendent. The ancient spiritual wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita explains that when the senses are indulged, the mind becomes agitated, intelligence is destroyed, and one falls down. Let's face it, most of us are slaves of our tongues. We can't go long without titillating our taste buds. Coffee, tea, snacks, cigarettes. The tongue needs something, but if the tongue is uncontrolled, the mind cannot be peaceful, and if minds are uncontrolled, society itself cannot be sustainable. Food is not just for the body. What we eat affects our consciousness, drives our habits. What we eat is a barometer of our compassion or cruelty. We are what we eat. So, what I am advocating is a radical spiritual solution. Krishna consciousness, which begins with the tongue by chanting Hare Krishna and preparing clean, tasty, nourishing, cruelty-free food for Krishna. A vegetarian diet is not deficient, incomplete, or unnatural. When properly planned, it provides all essential nutrients, proteins, healthy fats, vitamins, minerals, and energy needed for a strong body and a clear mind. Humanity does not consume meat because it's necessary, nor because it is superior in taste. It consumes meat because taste itself has been distorted, conditioned by habit, stimulation, and ever-increasing sensory excitation. When consciousness is purified, we discover that simple, sattvic food is naturally more satisfying, lighter, cleaner, more nourishing, and more sustaining to the body, the mind, and the planet. Violence is not a flavor enhancer. Cruelty does not improve nutrition. There are abundant, nourishing, and satisfying vegetarian alternatives without violence, without slaughter, and without the massive ecological cost of industrial animal agriculture. The Vedic solution is not austerity for its own sake, it is voluntary restraint, guided by wisdom. Simple living, limited needs, food taken with gratitude, not exploitation. Cows protected, not industrialized. Land used to nourish people, not to feed greed. This is not romantic nostalgia. It is ecological realism. A society that eats simply naturally consumes less energy, naturally wastes less. No carbon taxes required, no slogans required, no force required. So when we ask, why are we not taking climate change seriously? The answer is not mysterious. It's because to be serious would require change. Not just external change, but internal change. Change of consciousness to true God consciousness, recognizing our link with Mother Nature and the Supreme Father. And that is the one thing modern society resists the most. Krishna consciousness doesn't promise an easy fix. It offers something far more challenging and far more effective. A way of life where limits are embraced, where desire is educated, where intelligence is no longer a servant of appetite. This is not about becoming religious, it's about becoming sane. The climate crisis is a warning. In these simple living communities, we use very few or no modern machines, gadgets, electricity, minimal, and we don't use chemically produced fertilizers or pesticides, which means we massively reduce our energy consumption and carbon footprint. Now, obviously, everyone can't live like that, but it sets an ideal for how we can live without massively destroying the environment